They're called willows, which means lakes. The willows ensure that a great deal of animal life still stirs down in Sri Lanka's forests. Like every other wild place in Sri Lanka, the willow depends on the coming of the monsoon. When the monsoon has passed, the willows are filled to the brim. This is how a willow starts its year, once the monsoon has passed, with very little living space left between the water's edge and the trees. Many of the willows are linked, so that any overspill from one runs into its nearest neighbours, so little precious water is lost. Amazingly, the jungle never recolonizes the sandy bed of the lakes, perhaps because of the annual flooding. When the willow is full, the reedy edges attract a great many wading birds, like the Ceylon black-winged stilt. A good many of Sri Lanka's birds are subspecies unique to the island. The water also attracts visitors, like the Asiatic golden plover that breeds in Siberia. The same goes for the greenshank. It nests in northern Europe and Asia. A wader about the size of a sparrow. It nests on the tundra and visits the willow to escape the Russian winter. It's by no means only bird life that stirs down in the forest around the life-bringing water. Sri Lanka has one of the last well-protected populations of Asian elephants in the Far East. The forest lakes are a vital element in their continued existence. The water buffaloes, domestic stock gone wild, appreciate the facilities too. Sri Lanka has at least 2,500 elephants. It's a remarkably high number for a small, overcrowded island when you consider the world total for this threatened species is probably only 40,000. The willows and the surrounding jungle are a key element in their continued existence, but only because they occur inside a well-run national park system. Sri Lanka has 7 national parks with forest corridors connecting them, along which the elephants can migrate. Though Sri Lanka is clearing huge acreage for agriculture, the elephants in these areas are being moved or driven across country into the parks. The willows will play a vital part in keeping them there. When the lake is full, production of aquatic insects is at its peak. Outside the nesting season, the paradise flycatcher ranges over a wide area to collect its food. With a family to feed, it's a great advantage to build the nest alongside an abundant food supply. This dandy is the male. The flycatcher's nest is a beautiful little cup bound with cobwebs and often decorated on the sides with spiders' egg cocoons. It's usually built on a bare, downward-hanging branch without any attempt at concealment. The other dandy of the willow is a far more familiar one. The peacock, or to give it its correct name, the male Indian peafowl, will display at almost anything, even passing tortoises. Here it is putting on a performance for a female who appears totally unimpressed. Young birds display too, even though they haven't yet grown the necessary fine feathers. The beautiful spotted deer are regular visitors. They're the most cautious drinkers of all. They know the jungle lakes are the favorite hunting grounds of their arch enemies. Sri Lanka's national parks, especially Wilpattu, named after the many jungle lakes it contains, have a large population of leopards, and the deer know it. The leopards here are daytime hunters. The reason seems to be that there are no tigers to prey on them. But there are other predators who can give a leopard a bad fright. A 20-foot python is quite capable of catching and swallowing a deer. So when a leopard comes upon the snake on the edge of the jungle, it understandably does a double take. But it was the python who later became the victim. Pythons are fond of water, and the flooded willow is an excellent place to hunt. Unfortunately, another hunter had the same idea. A 12-foot marsh crocodile, locally known as a mugger, can easily mug a big snake. Once it has grabbed hold, it shakes and chews the python to death before it can throw a coil around its attacker. This party are finishing off the remains of a young buffalo that failed to look where it was drinking. Nothing comes amiss to a mugger as changed from their habitual diet of fish. As far as people are concerned, muggers have a fairly blameless record. They're among the least aggressive of the crocodilians. On occasions, they'll eat, or anyway try to eat, some very strange things. Even equipped with one of the world's most formidable set of nutcrackers, that mugger is going to have quite a job to eat the tortoise, unless, of course, it swallows it whole. Its tactic will probably be to drown it and eat it later. Water birds always seem to feature low on a crocodilian's menu. Nevertheless, the tree duck, or whistling teal, keeps its large family of ducklings in close convoy. They're just too tempting to lurking muggers. The ducklings will instinctively dive to escape attack, which makes them the crocodile equivalent of a piece of cake. Small muggers cruise hopefully, but the convoy system proves effective. Soon the water level in the Willow will begin to sink. Then there will be fresh dangers for all the animals who depend on it. A month after the end of Sri Lanka's monsoon rains, the water in the Willow starts to fall. The wildlife that comes to drink there now faces a constantly changing situation, and one that is increasingly dangerous. The falling water level favors the hunting tactics of leopards. The spotted deer, who are the leopard's main prey, now have to move further from the sheltering jungle to reach the water. These two stags are more concerned with a rutting dispute than with quenching their thirst. You'd think that the amount of open ground exposed by the falling water would favor the prey, but a stalking leopard can make itself practically invisible in the sparsest cover. The leopard has reached the reed bed, but this time the stag knows all about it. Like all big cats, the leopards score a high proportion of misses before they chalk up a success. These spotted deer females know their safety margins to an inch. Now that the leopard has given itself away, they feel quite safe. The willow is food and drink to a hunting leopard. This time, it has to be satisfied just with the drink. Jackals hang around the willows for the very good reason that they are prime hunting grounds for predators. The hunters sometimes get careless or leave scraps around. Snapping up such trifles is how the jackal gets its living. Though not the boldest of animals, it will gang up to try to intimidate a white-bellied sea eagle so that it drops the young cormorant it has just caught. An eagle that can carry a 4-pound fish in its talons isn't going to be caught out easily. So the jackal goes hungry. As the water in some of the smaller forest lakes drops, terrapins travel long distances across country to find one more to their liking. No one troubles them on these migrations. Their defenses are too good. Curiosity is what they seem mainly to arouse from birds like the red-wattled lapwing, a wader who distrusts all intruders within its territory. The normally peaceful stilts get quite agitated, probably because they have a nest not far away. The terrapin's journey really was necessary. It enters its proper element again, the friendly environment of a big willow that still holds plenty of water. There'll be no more rain until the monsoon breaks. The willow is already more of a shoreline than a lake. The whistling teal don't mind this, so long as there's enough water to land and swim on. The open ground all around affords them ample warning of approaching danger. The exposed lake bed provides the wild pigs with a perfect opportunity for digging the roots of water plants out of the mud. They even grub for aquatic plants beneath the surface. A family of piglets learns how to use its nose in perfect rooting conditions. White ibises exploit the pigs' excavations, looking for worms and small frogs. There's an even better time coming for the pigs when the lake becomes little more than a mud wallow. The rotting vegetation left by the fast evaporating water provides a banquet for the teal. They're versatile feeders. They can dive for food, dabble on the surface, and they often play havoc at night among the villagers' rice paddies. Here they're dabbling to strain out aquatic insects, such as mosquito larvae. The once expansive willow is fast becoming a mere puddle. Competition for the remaining facilities will soon become intense. The wild pigs are perfectly happy with their situation. In any dispute, they have weight and ferocity on their side. A good thick mud is a wild pig's idea of heaven. In these conditions, concentrations of floating waterweed provide ideal camouflage for a mugger with sinister intentions. Low water means a bonus for practically everyone, except possibly the spotted deer, whose small hooves aren't adapted to wading around in deep mud. But it's the fish eaters who do best out of the final drying up stages of the willow. As the lake shrinks, the water forms one deep pool in the middle. The fish become highly concentrated, making it easy for the fishermen. You can understand fish-eating birds queuing up to catch tiddlers, but the quarry seems far too small to excite the larger crocodiles. Presumably, even a 12-foot mugger is happy, provided it can catch enough tiddlers without wasting too much energy in the process. What the muggers are doing is rather like trawling. By contrast, the great white heron displays the delicate skill of an individual angler casting from a moving boat. The bird doesn't lose its cool, even when its peaceful fishing punt turns out to be a trawler. The painted stalk system is more like that of a skilled netsman sweeping the shallows and judging by feel when a fish hits the net. That's a spoonbill, after far smaller fry like tadpoles and insect larvae. In these conditions, everyone seems to get something. As long as there's some water left, the willow continues to provide for an astonishing variety of wildlife. Up to now, the willow system has been enough for the animals' needs. Now, with increased protection of wildlife, pressure on these jungle lakes is increasing. So the parks are enlarging and deepening selected willows. All that matters then is that the monsoon arrives on schedule. Fortunately, it has very seldom failed.